coming out, everybody. Coach Lance Leipold coming off a bye week this week. The Bulls are back in action on Saturday, playing at Central Michigan. Only the second time we've ever been to Central Michigan since joining the conference in 1999. So we'll kick off checking out the Chippewas at 1 o'clock on Saturday. With that, questions for Coach Leipold.
All right, Coach. Their coach, John Bonamigo, I don't imagine he's been in the NFL last 16 years. Have you crossed paths with him at all, know him at all, or not?
I hadn't up until I met him for the first time in May at our first set of conference meetings, and because we were both the two new coaches, we had a lunch with the commissioner and some of his people, so it was kind of a small gathering. Had a chance to interact with him quite a bit. Many times in this profession, and through his, he spent some time in Green Bay, and we had a chance to talk about people that we knew and similarities. But I've heard nothing but great things, about him as a person. Obviously, he's overcome a lot here of late, and but at the same time, they've done an excellent job with their team. Had a very challenging schedule, and I know he'll have them ready for Saturday.
Their defensive front, what do you see from their front seven?
Again, another physical front. Impressed with the linebackers. Physical group that runs well. I think again we've talked about the different groups through the last few weeks, and I think as far as a total group of front seven, as good as we've seen again. You can see by the people that they've lined up against physical football teams and in Michigan State, teams that want to run the ball like Syracuse, Oklahoma State, and really how they even battled last week against Western Michigan. It'll be a good challenge for us.
Last year, their front seven really beat UB on the line of scrimmage. Any talk of that you've heard? Or
a little bit. I think it's a little bit about that, but it's more about us as a whole from here on out trying to establish the line of scrimmage and being more consistent on what we're doing. And I'm sure it's in the back of our minds of our guys, and they're motivated by any type of past performance and a chance to redeem themselves.
For you as a coach, was this a chance to get back to basics on some of the things you wanted to clean up and refine over the bye week?
Yeah, we had a chance to get even more repetitions, and as we've kind of talked about, we wanted to use it in different ways. One, continue to work on points of emphasis, going offense versus defense against each other a little bit more. So speed against speed, I guess, a little bit more than just working off of scout team cards. But we also took some time to practice a little bit more like we did in fall camp, to work kind of heavy on repetitions at certain points of practice, and also had a chance to work with some of our younger players. And I thought all those were beneficial last week, and now we transitioned into this week. And yesterday practicing gave us kind of the bonus day of game prep, much like we had for the first game against Albany.
You gained 487, 500 yards the last two games. About the red zone, obviously, now that you've had the week to think about it, any things you can pinpoint about the red zone?
Not as much common denominators, Mark, as we'd like to be, that you could say, boom, we'll get it fixed, or make a change, or a read here, getting off coverage there, a block here, a read here by Bacon. So it's a lot, but it does come down to consistency, and we need to get that corrected quickly and turn those, as we said, those field goal attempts into touchdowns.
Your middle three on the O-line is new, playing together, two new
Yep.
starters. Just how do you feel they're coming together?
We were just talking about that this morning. I think, for redshirt freshmen, James O'Hagan in the middle has done a fine job for where he's at. It continues to get better on a weekly, daily, even a daily basis. And I just poked my head in the offensive line meeting before I came here, and they're talking about certain things that he was doing well, but there are areas of improvement. Brandon Monoslavas, I think, is again a guy that even last week we moved around. Again, he took some snaps at center. Could be an emergency center. Played a little bit of left guard yesterday because Dylan Guy went down for a little bit. his versatility is very impressive. I've been impressed with his physicality. We've got to be able to have that whole group, though, sustain themselves for 4 quarters and be able to play at a high rate.
How about chunk plays? I mean, obviously every team likes as many as they can get, as many as Bowling Green gets, but I haven't counted it up, but it seems like, has that been a kind of a point of emphasis, something you've talked about among the coaches? How can we get,
Yes.
a few more easy layups?
Yeah, I think what you're asking is how can we get some more explosives, and that's how can we create some more with that? And I think as we've approached this, we've taken some ways in trying to continue to do that in a lot of different ways within our offensive scheme.
Offensively, looking at Central Michigan, their quarterback, do you see similarities between him and Joe?
Yeah, I think there's some. There's multi-year starter. Gets by more with their arm than their legs. Very composed in the pocket. Good decision maker. Doesn't get rattled. So there's a lot of similarities there that you can see, and we've got to find a way to get to him, with some pressures.
What about their offensive style? What do you think is maybe their bread and butter?
Well, they do a nice job with formations, and I think one thing in similarity that both teams want to do is use their tight ends. I think both teams have excellent tight ends. They find ways to use their personnel to their best strengths. You can see them rotating many running backs, and then who's ever going to be the kind of maybe the more productive one on certain occasions, or based by health, they're going to ride that person a little bit, and they're again going to use all their weapons. Their line is big, as big of an offensive line probably we've seen in a few weeks, and again, a very physical group.
A few weeks ago, we talked about trying to find that perfect game and getting all phases going. You never really do find that, but do you feel like you're hitting that stride to where you're getting all 3 phases to where you want it to be?
Well, not at the same time, though, to be honest. And that's the one we've got to find. We've got to be able to, put all 3 phases together, and especially at critical points. And you're talking about times in the third and fourth quarters when you need to make plays. You need to get off the field. You need to score touchdowns, and you need to get something in the return game. You can't have penalties, but flashes. But many times I think teams that are in our position right now and where we are, but where we want to be and have the ability to get to, we've got to get that over the hump and put them all together at the same time.
At the one safety spot, Dadabaugh has been dinged up a little bit over the last month. He's been in, out. Stanback's been playing. Is Dadabaugh healthy, and is there a start? Who's the starter there?
I could see Brandon Stanback taking the first snap on Saturday. Andrews has kind of been one of those things that we thought with the week off and things. I think he's coming, but he is the epitome of day to day, and that's kind of what we found where he's practiced, and sometimes we've limited his reps, and Friday's a short walkthrough, and then we get to Saturday and he's not really able to go. And I think most of us have been, and from him to coaches have been that's been frustrating, but I think we've come to some understanding of where it's going to be probably for this season, and he's given us all he can.
Otherwise, I would think you're probably in pretty good.
Yeah, we're about as healthy as we've been. I don't know if since the last time we spoke, Terrence Wilson, a reserve corner, had shoulder surgery, and that'll end his season. But other than that, I think for the most part, at this time, we are, in good shape, I think, for a team that's played 5 games.
Mount Pleasant isn't exactly Chicago. How do you get there? Are you flying or busing?
We're flying to Lansing, and then we'll be staying in Lansing and busing. But you're talking to a guy who spent 8 years in Whitewater, Wisconsin, and so there's a lot of places I haven't been able to get to. So, but yeah, it's never been there, so that's about be a good experience. they've had their run of success, and going there and playing well and getting a win will be important for us.
Was it kind of odd to start the conference season at one game and then get the bye, or was that a good thing in that you could see where you stood against one of the better teams and then hit the reset button?
Yeah, again, that'd be one of those questions I can answer better a year or so from now, hopefully. But I guess I've never been one that's fully said, well, we prepare differently for conference games than we don't. Right now, everything is a new opponent, and we're going to play them, and we just need to play and get better. And we're not approaching. We didn't change any approach from Albany to Penn State, and we're not changing anything from Nevada to Bowling Green and so on. So I guess I tried to look at the positive of when this open week happened, and where it is when you look at your total weeks from the time your players report to the end of what your regular season is. I think it's probably in about as good a spot as it could be.
You saw Bowling Green put up 62 last week. Just what did you, looking back at the Bowling Green game, what do you like best about what your defense did that game?
Well, I think you're alluding to total points scored, and we said that, I think we stood here before about, don't worry as much about the yards as you do about the points. And I think when you look at, I'm not spending a lot of time in the rearview mirror about them because we've got so many to get ready for, but when you look at their points scored and last week or prior to playing us and where we've played, I think if we're looking for positives within our defense, I think we have to be pleased with that. All right, thank you, everyone.